The world that shrinks each passing day into one big global village is driving more people from its villages to cities. Driven by market forces, cities are becoming epicenters of employment. And India, a country that has more than 1 billion people, has about 250 million who now live in cities. Experts predict that this number will increase, and 50% of the country's young population will migrate to urban centers by 2020 to carve out a living. Among those who graduate, with the conferring of a graduation degree comes a culmination of their education. For the vast majority, slipping out of their graduation gowns into career clothes the same week is fast becoming a reality, especially in today's market in India. And then for others with spending power, their college degree or diploma serves as a passport to pursue higher studies abroad. So, is this all that the education system is supposed to do? When and how are we fully educated? Is today's education system fulfilling its role, its obligations? Many will argue it is. That if one considers that the goal of education is only to help eke out a living. The biggest strength and security of any country lies in educating its youth, and even more so by molding their character, propounds a school of thought, wherein lies the answers to many of the social ills that plague today's world. Nestled in the district of Anantapur in Andhra Pradesh is the Sree Sathya Sai University. This university is perhaps one of the few institutions in the world where the system of learning imparts life's biggest and most value-based lessons, while preparing to meet and even surpass the challenges of today's market demands and work environment.
Driven by market forces, education in India is becoming privatized and very expensive, obscenely expensive, I would say. Now there are forecasts that in a few decades from now, we would be having 500 million young people in India. That's an very large number, much more than the population of United States today, 500 million. And one expert has said 500 young people is a great asset if they can all be educated and they are employable. But if they are not educated, we have a huge time bomb on our hands. That is something we must realize. And how do we deal with this problem? That is what Baba has demonstrated through his university. First of all, education in his university is free all the way. And even more important is the stress on education.
Here, emphasis is on value-based education and character building of its students, as much as, if not more than, academic excellence. Steadfast in its belief and practice, this educational system fostered at the Sree Sathya Sai University is well on its way to awaken those in spiritual slumber with a gentle nudge, so that they understand the goal of education is certainly not limited to what is taught through textbooks in the classrooms. Often described as an embodiment of the purest form of love, Sree Sathya Sai Baba has made it his mission for man to recognize his own divinity and rekindle love, the basis for the 5 timeless human values that lie latent in every human, regardless of race or religion. Millions of people around the world are drawn to him and his universal messages. His messages encapsulate profound philosophies that are easy to understand, more importantly, imbibe. Bhagavan Baba, or Swami as he is addressed around the world, has transformed the lives of needy millions by undertaking massive humanitarian service projects. Born on November 23, 1926, in a remote village called Puttaparthi in Andhra Pradesh in South India, Bhagavan Baba gives a great deal of importance to education. But more than that, he lays considerable significance to the manner in which it ought to be delivered. As the Chancellor of this university, Sree Sathya Sai Baba often says, education is not for mere living, it is for life, a fuller, more meaningful, a more worthwhile life. What the world needs today is educare. The unique approach to integrate modern education with human values through educare makes his contribution the most outstanding to the world of knowledge and learning. So what is educare?
Educare aims at the transformation of man. The word educare, if you look at the dictionary, you will find that the word educe expresses the meaning of educare most appropriately. To elicit, to draw out from what is rudimentary or potential existence. The potential has to be allowed to blossom forth fully. The assumption is that each and every human being has a divine spark in him, and this divine potentiality has to be tapped and brought out into the open. This is the main principle of educare. The distinction between education and educare, as the Chancellor of the university always puts it across, is education is for living and educare is for life.
Down the ages, we are trained in education. Education is an elevation to human life. Education imparts information to students. Education will make you knowledgeable and enjoy status, dignity, respectability in the community. This education will be coming forward with promising jobs to have a kind of standard of life, higher standard of life, that would be befitting to the modern civilization. That's all education we know. We have been through that. Bhagwan Sree Sathya Sai Baba has come forward with the new concept of educare. Educare is not imparting knowledge from outside. Educare is not simply collection of facts and statistics from books, is not merely curriculum, syllabus centered and examination oriented. No. Educare is for wisdom. While education gives you knowledge, educare confers wisdom. Education is obtained from outside agencies, while educare is out of the awakening of the intellect from within. Education is academic, bound by time limit, while educare is a process of learning from womb to the tomb, from birth to death. Education will improve the standard of your living, while educare will improve the standard of life in general. Education is for civilization. Educare is for culture. Education is one thing given to you. Educare is the one you are born with. The education will make you an intellectual, whereas educare will make you more intelligent. Intelligence and intellect are different. Heart-centered is educare, head-oriented is education.
Sree Sathya Sai University grew out of the colleges started by Bhagwan Baba in the town of Anantapur in the state of Andhra Pradesh 40 years ago. Development of a sterling character being the primary objective, 2 more colleges were started in Brindavan near Bangalore, Karnataka, and in Prashanti Nilayam in Puttaparthi. As the years rolled by, these colleges attained the status of a university with A++ rating in the country that offer unique experiences in an environment that fills the head with ideals, nurtures the heart, and trains the hands to help the needy in the society. Apart from the fact that education is imparted free of cost from kindergarten all the way through to the postgraduate and the professional program level, students also receive free health care. The state-of-the-art techniques used for teaching and research, using English as the medium of instruction, character and qualifications of teachers, development of scientific research at the doctoral level that is relevant to local and national needs, make this university a crest jewel among educational institutions in the country and abroad. The installation of a modern space theatre speaks volumes of the importance Bhagavan Baba gives to academic excellence. But he also implores the students to convert knowledge into a tool useful to society. Miraculous transformation of the heart happens while being in this university environment, where the students learn their first lesson in love as well as service, when put simply, is love in action. A significant contributor to the transformation of their hearts comes from Grama Seva, initiated in 2000 by Bhagavan Baba. While one aspect of learning outside the classroom sensitizes these students to human suffering, the hands-on training in delivering compassionate and loving service toward the poor and the needy in the society sows the seeds of love and compassion in their hearts and imparts a valuable lesson on sealing on desires and social responsibility, while at the same time rekindling the awareness of oneness of man. Through Grama Seva, these students understand that love and service are the two sides of the same page that deal with a lesson in spirituality, and adhering to values is not something that is meant to be appended to one's life whenever convenient, but meant to be integrated into their lives. The students undergo a paradigm shift in their attitude and their thought process, approaching life with a broader understanding, deeper insight, and a mature outlook, with a realization that this is the only way, the right way, to live a fulfilling life.
Service in the village. Now, this has been practiced in a very massive way in the Sree Sathya Sai University from the year 2000. We have been doing this for 7 years in a row. What is the purpose of Grama Seva? The question arises because many people say, okay, a few days in the year you go out to the villages in large numbers, no doubt, and you distribute food, clothes, etc., etc. That is not going to solve the problem of the villages. What's the big deal? It's a fair question. But I'll tell you what the big deal is, because I have been involved in this in many ways, and I have been watching this very closely. In fact, in some of my field trips, I have recorded interviews with students, teachers, administrators, and so on. The big deal is simply this. As far as our students are concerned, I won't talk about the villages, there is another dimension. As far as the students are concerned, it's a question of sensitizing them. Many of these people come from urban background. They have absolutely no idea what conditions in villages are. And when they go to a village and see for the first time a place where there is no shop, no electricity, no telephone, no doctor, not even an ayah to assist with delivery of babies, no roads, hardly any school, then they realize that there is a world out there which goes back almost to the Stone Age, and that's just 30 kilometers from here. And you realize how far it is because it takes 2 to 3 hours to cover 30 kilometers. Sensitivity. And this has worked on many students, because many of them have said later on, I will stay back in this country. I owe something to these people, because these are the people who work as farmers and feed me. If they don't work in the farm, how am I going to eat? Where is the food on the table going to come from? Sensitization. That is a very, very important point. Second point, when you get this experience year after year during the 5 years or 6 years or 7 years that you spend in the college and the university, and when you go out, that experience remains and it influences the thinking of people in many ways. Let's say you end up as an administrator in the government, then you realize that you have to do your bit for the people in rural India, because even now with all the urbanization, 70% of India lives in the villages. Or if you go to a big corporation, many of our students are working for a bank, leading bank, private sector bank, SDFC. On weekends they don't go partying, they go to a village, they do service. So the other people began to say, hey, where do you disappear? These people gave evasive replies, but then they found that they were going for service to villages. They joined, and now the bank is adopting village service as a corporate activity, as a practice of corporate social responsibility, or whatever you want to call it. So it's all a question of creating a change of mindset. That is really what Grama Seva is intended to do as far as the students are concerned. And I would say, looking at it cumulatively over so many years, it has been quite successful, very successful. And I have found this out by talking to people who have gone out from here, who are now well placed not only in India but even overseas. They still cherish those memories. In fact, you would be surprised to hear that every year a fairly big group comes all the way from UK to do seva here, so that they know there is a different world out there. So there is a meaning, and basically it's a question of sensitization.
On a platform of academic excellence, with the unflagging love and support of Bhagavan Baba, the students excel in both academic and non-academic facets of education. Meticulous planning goes into the making of the annual Sports Day, unheard of in any other university in the country. Apart from providing an opportunity to conquer phobias, this event puts the students to the ultimate test of fortitude, kinship, skills, talents, self-confidence and leadership.
Swami's basic contribution to education is character. Swami always says the end of education is character. The one thing that really touches you every time you interact with Swami's students is the goodness. I think Swami has imbued them with such great amount of goodness, and it is always very touching and moving to see that in them. When you see these students, you can see that they carry themselves differently from people from other institutions. When they face a conflict, because of their prayer, God shows them way and shows them the right path and the ability to differentiate good from bad and take the right actions. Swami's students, when they are faced with conflict, act very differently from others. One, they do not lose their temper. They don't ask, why should it happen to me? They say, this is the problem, we have to find a solution. They do it based on mutual respect and love, and therefore are ultimately able to work out a solution which is fair to all and satisfactory to all.
Upon graduation, armed with a sterling character, the EduCAD students of the Sree Sathya Sai University enter the world of action, a world wrought with competition, compulsion and commercialization. This is when values and virtues imbibed during their education serve as reliable props, making them stand out from the rest. The highly coveted graduates hold top positions in highly reputed organizations both in India and abroad. Quality education prepares students of the Sree Sathya Sai University to understand deeply the importance of civic engagement and what it means to be a global citizen.
Swami always says that education is for life and not just for living. And the kind of exposure, the broad as well as deep exposure that the students get in Swami's college, right from not just managing their academics, but the sports activities, managing the hostel, managing the VIPs, coordinating almost every single event. I think that itself, being in the hostel and being in Swami's college itself, is probably the greatest management education the students get. And as a result of that, the greatest quality that corporates like us benefit from Swami's students is their versatility. They are almost expert in everything. And that leads, their versatility in the hostel life, in being in Swami's presence, gets translated into work life. So it is very easy to get them involved in any kind of activity. They are not fussy about their ambitions and certain, straight-jacketed career goals. The result of this versatility is also that they view every work in the workplace as a service. And that's really a true reflection of what Swami grooms them to be while they are in the college. But everything they do is a service. And they do it with such a good service orientation and mentality that it becomes kind of a force multiplier within the organization, and that has a big impact on customer service orientation, on teamwork, on interpersonal skills, because these boys and these girls really embody Swami's teaching in the workplace. They bring together a unique blend of equanimity yet dedication to the work, which is kind of very rare, because people who are normally very dedicated and passionate tend to kind of spark off a very different types of team dynamics, whereas Swami students actually balance it with a great degree of equanimity and love.
The kind of vibes that one sees, the kind of positive energy that one sees in candidates who have passed out from the Sai Institute is strikingly different. What I see as a real, difficult to really say whether these are attributes which are not available elsewhere. I think everything about an individual is about the nature and nurture, and nurture has a very important role to play in the way in which a person is what he is in a larger life context, and work life being a part of that large life. When one sees when I meet candidates from who have had an association with the Sai Institute, what one really sees as striking and different is the intensity and the consistency in their attitude, in their value system, the kind of focus and confidence that they exhibit. You see the students, or the ones who have had association with the Sai Institute, take on a company's way of doing things, the processes, the ability to adapt and adopt to the organization processes, comes in with a lot of ease.
Method of teaching, the method of integrating students' life outside the curriculum into the curriculum, and developing an all-rounded personality is something that is unique and rare in the world, that only Sathya Sai University can contribute. The second one is the whole emphasis on human values. I think every corporate, every business in the world is realizing that without human values you cannot really progress to the next level of business excellence or corporate excellence. And the fundamental raw material for that is management graduates, or graduates who come into work life with a very strong orientation on human values and ability to integrate those human values with business situation and professional work. So I think these are two areas, grooming of students outside of the curriculum, the kind of activities, the kind of environment, physical, spiritual, mental and academic, that's kind of integrated so synergistically, and human values integration into the curriculum. These are two things that are very unique about Swami's Institute's curriculum, and that's something that is, if I can use the word, exportable globally.
Sree Sathya Sai University has become a role model that is transforming administrators, educators and the youth around the world.
రెండింటి యొక్క సమ్మిళితమైనటువంటి యొక్క విద్యనే ఈనాడు జగత్తుకు ఆదర్శవంతమవుతుంది.
For the world today, the combination of secular education and spiritual education is very essential.
Within the first 6 years of its operation, the Sathya Sai school in a suburb of Toronto in the province of Ontario, Canada, attracted much attention from mainstream educators and the media. And for a school that has the unique distinction of being the only one of its kind in the United States and Canada, its recent rating among the top schools in Ontario comes as no surprise to those who are familiar with its vision. A unique learning model that aims to balance character education with academic excellence, the Sathya Sai School of Canada made national headlines in February 2007. Staffed by teachers with exemplary character and training in Sathya Sai Education in Human Values program, this school was rated first among 37 top elementary schools by the Fraser Institute, an independent Canadian research and educational organization with international partners in over 70 countries. The school program is designed not to dictate or impose universal human values. Instead, it offers a simple framework for reference for children to base their decisions and behavior.
The teaching of these 5 values can be found in all Sathya Sai schools around the world. This is the story of the Sathya Sai schools of Zambia, and how the students of these schools will help lead Africa to the magnificent destiny it has long deserved. Imagine a school where no one fails, and graduates go forth to build a great nation. A school with hard work and discipline, yet joy fills the air.
Now, what do you mean that this light is your goal in life?
Imagine a school in human values, where character comes first. A school where students pray, learn other cultures, and accept all faiths as valid pathways to the one God. A school that is located in a poor township, and students learn to serve the less fortunate. Yet it does not charge tuition, and no one is turned away for lack of funds. Imagine a school with teachers who are shining lights of love, who regard their vocation as a sacred duty. There is such a school. A miracle in the very heart of Africa. The Sathya Sai schools of Zambia. Values-based education not only educates, but also transforms the heart. And students learn to live in truth, right conduct, peace, love, and nonviolence.
There are many failures in the primary school, at the primary school level, and therefore these boys could not gain entrance to secondary school education in government schools. Now these were the boys we collected, as it were, from the streets, from the failures basket. But after 2 years of nurturing using the SSCHV methods. When they took the grade 9 national examination, their grades were the best. This was the first indication. And this continued to be repeated year after year, right up to grade 12, which is the high school level, which is the entrance to university. 100% passes. So the people call it a miracle school because it has never happened in Zambia. To find a school that is located in a disadvantaged area among poor people, among truants, to gain such high marks at national examinations. But not only that, they became very responsible. These institutions are famous throughout the world. People from different parts of the world come to them, come to find out what is it that makes them tick. What is it that makes these institutions, the schools in particular, to be called miracle schools? What is it that they do that the people of Zambia and of the world think that it is a miracle? In other words, something that was once upon a time impossible has now become possible. Well, I think to start with, I must say that this school stands on 5 pillars. The 5 pillars of truth and love, peace, righteousness, and non-violence. The Reverend Sree Sathya Sai Baba, who has brought this wonderful gift to the world, a gift really that transcends all nationalities, transcends all religions. What Baba is talking about is found in all cultures. But he is the first to say, look, what has been said in the pulpits for thousands of years can now be said in the classroom. This is a global program adopted by so many people, so many countries. And I would like to see a greater understanding of the program. In other words, a greater degree of following the authenticity as the principles are, not diluting them, not adulterating them. I'd like to see a greater commitment and a greater degree of application, practicing these principles. Because these principles are not meant for examinations, for classroom examinations. They are living principles. They have to be lived by both teachers, students, parents, and indeed every human being, so that we all become exemplars. This would be the most unique feature that will distinguish Sathya Sai schools from the rest of the schools of the world.
Light your candle, let it shine across the land. I am in the light is in me. I am the light, I am in the light is in me. I am the light.
Armed with a sterling character, the educad youths realize that they are the ones, as messengers of love, who would usher in a new age where humanity will realize the oneness of all creation, and that they are the harbingers of a brave new world order where human values will govern all fields of life.